It's once again time for me to show you round this thing, whatever it's shaping up to be, and I've really got into the phase where I'm enjoying using the system that I'm writing, which is a good sign, I think. Let me adjust some walls here, because I love how easy it is to go over to the spreadsheet now and set up all these monster parties. Still only got 4 groups, but I'm tweaking what I want to have in this early stage of the game. And, of course, being able to alter the map and all its properties as well. That's great. So let's start this up, and I'll show you what I've been doing since the last time. So now you start in this cave area, which exists basically to show off that this can cope with uneven floors and decorations and so on. And you're going to wander out of here, and I'm going to force you to go out of the cave at first, and explore the surface or town or whatever's going to be over there before you eventually come back in and discover not an ancient ruin, as in many RPGs, but an ancient tech base. And this is where I can show you that I've now got multiple maps working by transplanting the player from one to another. So, this works basically as you've seen before. See those through there? We'll be coming to those later. Encounters have been spruced up a bit. And I've given myself the pistol instead of the super shotgun now, just to better gauge the difficulty of the game at this stage. It really makes a difference when you're forced to keep firing on an enemy for a longer period of time, rather than the super shotgun where you can just fly about. Especially when you've got a custom enemy like that. There we go. Let's head for that switch before anyone else can get me. Alright, we're going to have an encounter coming back here. Okay. So I plan to replace the pistol because it is a bit of a slog. Maybe with one that just fires slightly faster, like in Ev Eternity, or I think Valiant might have done it as well. I can't remember. I think many people do. Okay, where am I going? Alright, so this is where we'll encounter one of the new things since last time. These pain elementals which wander around, and they fulfill the same role the FOE does in Etrian Odyssey. FOEs, which as every Etrian Odyssey player knows, stands for fucking overpowered enemy, wander around the map, and when you touch them, they will get you into a catastrophically difficult fight that usually means instant death. Unlike any other game studio, when Atlas says you don't want to do this just now, most other game studios says it would be a bit punishing, it's a bit higher than your level. You'll be annihilated if Atlas says you don't want to do this just now and you do it anyway. Oh, there's some secrets, by the way. Just using Doom's native wall actions, line death actions. Probably going to need to cheat to heal a bit if I carry on like this. I think there are a few too many imps in this imp squad for this stage of the game. It's more of an imp battalion. There we go. Let's keep on heading through here. And the idea is you've got to watch the FOE movements as they move around. That one goes in circles throughout the room. There are a couple of over here. I'm actually just going to kill monsters here, just to speed this up a bit. And these ones go back and forward. When you run into one, they will explode and summon loads of powerful monsters. In this case it's 4 Barons of Hell, which I'm going to annihilate as well. Alright, let's avoid this one. And keep heading through here. I'm going to head down this way so I can open up a shortcut. I think I was pressing the wrong button, but I'll check to see the responsiveness of that button. And in a real scenario here, I've got 19 health. I would probably want to start heading back up just now to heal up, but I'm going to press on. Here's a scientist squad. That enemy isn't particularly good at aiming his Uzi, for reasons which are understandable in the circumstances. I've just remembered that I'm definitely going to have trouble here. And I'll show you why. I'm going to heal up first. What is it? Give health? Yeah, that'll do. Because we've now got damaging floors! And of course you'd be able to find a biosuit that helps you survive the damaging floors a bit better, but I don't have an inventory yet, so I can't. And stairs to a lower floor. Just like before, you can open up a shortcut so you can get back here easier. And we can head down. And that points to nowhere. I've got no map type, so that's the end of the game so far. So I want to show you a bit about how this works. I've been diving very strongly into Z-Script over the last couple of days. I did some Z-Script in Ramp, basically just to get a global data store working without all the faff with global ACS variables and having to remember their numbers and everything. But gradually I've been discovering just how useful Z-Script can be. It is... It's very poorly documented, and I don't want to sound ungrateful because there is documentation out there that people have written. It's just nowhere near as extensive as Decorate and ACS. It's really difficult to find out how to do basic things in it, but once you've got going, it starts to make sense. The biggest thing coming up from Decorate and ACS is that you can now refer to individual actors and check things about them instead of having to keep track of tags and TIDs and hoping that an ACS has a function that does just about what you need. One of the simplest objects I have introduced is the map descriptor, which is down here. It lives on every level. I've given it the Megasphere icon. And it just holds information about how the map should be treated. This is map type 1. So 1 to run the RPG style movement, 2 would be a monster arena, and 102 is the map num of the arena to use for this map. When the player gets into an encounter, use this map num, teleport them to do the actual fight. The definition of that in Z-Script, if I can find it, this is a total mess, I should separate out my classes and put them in different files, is there. This is simply very easy. There's your sprite, arg0 it does that, arg1 does that, and I don't need to do anything else here. So what happens when you start a level in the global ACS is return and enter, you script call data library load map properties. So that looks for an object called data library and will call the function load map properties in it. Let's go back over here and go to the data library. It's the first one in this, and it has a method called, where is it? Load map properties. And the first argument to any of these is always the activator, if you choose to put an actor as the first argument. And that's so that you can perform actions on the actor that called it. There's a bit of faff here because you need to set up something to look for the map describer. What I'm doing here is basically putting together something that will look through all the objects on the map called map describer. There's only one. There's possibly a better way to do it than this when there's only one object, but this is the way that I learned and I'm sticking with it for now. What it says is we're going to write data to our data library with no activator, it doesn't matter. Arena map is the name of the key that we want to write. It's a key value store. And we're going to write the first argument of our map describer object. It's really the second argument. It's numbered 1 for the second argument, and that's going to be the arena map to teleport to. And I'm going to return mark0 so I can just use it in ACS. There's no actual need to store it here. The data library, I can't remember if I described this before. It's just got a couple of dictionaries in it, and the methods in here to write data just say insert into that dictionary in that position with, I call that status, but it's not really status anymore. I must have copy and pasted it from ramp. We'll just call it value. Alright, so what that does is we have loaded our map properties from that map descriptor object, and now we know, because we passed back the map type, if map type is 1, then execute this for the RPG movement. If it's not, then set up an arena instead. The exits work along the same lines. There's a very big loop in RPG movement, which handles the loop of controlling the player and making sure that they can move where they want to move, and then performing the movement and playing sounds. After that, as a result of this move, are we on a damaging floor or have we hit an exit? Exit map num is level helper handle map exit. So every time the player has moved, we then call handle map exit in the level helper. Let's find the level helper. There it is. Alright, so once again, we are setting up an iterator to iterate through all the objects in the map that are of class exit spot. And if that exit spot, position X, is equal to the activator, which is the player, position X, and the spot's Y position is equal to the player's Y position, we know that the player has hit this exit. So we look at the second argument, numbered 1, of the exit object, which will give us our square num, which I described last time. It's the identifier here. If I look, for example, here, if you turn around and go into this exit, that says go to map 1, go to square 118110. And there's a bit of a struggle here because the Z-script treats angles in... I think that this angle value is 360 degrees, and in ACS it wants them out of 6,500 and 65536 degrees, which aren't degrees, but never mind. The magic number is 182. You can convert by multiplying by 182. That's all you need to know. As you can see, I've got some debug here to make sure that that was right. And then we write the data to our data store, field square and field angle, which are the square at which the player should next appear and the angle at which they should be facing. And then we return the map num, which is arg0, the first argument. Alright, so now if exit map num is anything, then we do the fade, we play a stairsy sound, and we teleport to a new map. Once we get to a new map, what happens? We run the enter script. If it is an RPG movement map, which it will be, then we... Where is it? Load map properties. Then we set player properties. Yes, okay, so we read an integer from the data library. We read field square, which we wrote when we exited the level. We place the player there by translating the square number into x and y coordinates, and we set the player's angle as well, and that is how we smoothly transport the player from one place to another. One other thing I want to talk about... Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about how the FOEs, or pain elementals, work. Here's one that's out in the open. Once again, I've got a custom argument here, the monster population, which is the ID that this FOE will trigger when it moves into the player, or the player moves into it. They work just the same as any other monster population that's on a square, just numbering them from 1001. FOE barons, which is, of course, that one there, with 4 barons of hell. So this monster party group isn't going to be assigned to a square, it's only going to ever be used on the pain elementals. and when you collide with the Pain Elemental, it will force the next encounter to be that ID, and the encounter code will take it from there. Plus, there's a little animation that has the Pain Elemental bursting and summoning all the other monsters when you get into the arena. As for how they move, this is another thing that you could maybe do in ACS and Decorate if you had a lot of time and a certain amount of drugs, but it's so much easier to do it in Z-Script. Moving these things around. So if you go to RPG movement again, we trigger moving them around after the player has moved. Alright, so we say, as a result of this move, have we hit one? And then we increase the danger value, and then we move the FOEs, and we can start an encounter if one overlaps the player. So once we've decided the player's in a square that's safe, we're not beginning another encounter, then we can move them. And that's a call to the FOE helper, move FOEs. And what that does is it does the same loop again. It looks for every item in turn that is called an FOE. It looks at the position. It looks at the angle it's facing. And it will decide how much it's got to move on the X and Y coordinates, depending on which way it's facing. Then it will do its move by using set origin. That just moves the actor from one place to another and does a whole lot of Doom internals that make sure its collision is updated and its block max stuff is updated as well. You don't need to worry about it. Then we call a method on FOE, which we couldn't do in Decorate. We check to see if it overlaps the player. It doesn't really. This method's a bit badly named because it means you could use it on any actor, but I happen to use the activator, which is the player on it. So if we look at that method in FOE, overlaps player means is at position, other pos X, other pos Y. It means it's checking to see if the X and Y coordinates match the activator. If it does overlap, then we set it back to its old position, we get the square number, we set the square number where the foe encounter is, and then we set the monster population, which we would turn down here, to the monster population that's assigned to the FOE. And get monster pop is simply a shortcut to saying arg0 that's a bit more understandable. If, however, they have hit a turner, we can check to see if any turner matches the position of the FOE. If it does, then set the FOE's angle to the turner angle, and that's how I can have one looping around the room with these turners. Some going back and forward. This one goes around the room in the opposite direction. So there's a lot that's going on here, and I'm really starting to get sped up with the Z script as I go. I resisted it for a long time because from the outside it's completely impenetrable, but once you're in and you've got the idea, it's like Narnia. And I think once I've finished this, I really want to see if I can contribute to its documentation and help people get onto it and discover what else you can do with it, because there is some amazing stuff in here and it's got so much potential for really big transformations of GZ Doom. Speaking of which, I said I'd do inventory last time. I haven't, but I think now that I've got all this movement in and the encounters working and everything, it's time to start working out how that's going to work as well. So hopefully I will be able to present that to you next time. Good luck, everyone.